2024 is coming to a close, and as a result, some TNA contracts are coming to an end. The IWC has decided that for the 1,000th time, this is the death of TNA. Are they onto something, or are they full of shit? Let's get right into it. There are 8 talents that we're going to be talking about in particular. Some of these talents have already left the company, some just left very recently, as soon as this week, and some are in talks to potentially be leaving in the future. But to start things off, we're going to talk about Mike Bailey, who left TNA. His deal expired on the 1st of November. I feel like this was a big hit to the company, as I stated in my TNA Final Resolution review. If you have not watched that video, make sure to check it out up here. But I feel like the X division is very poorly booked. There's nobody currently existing in the division based on the booking currently that I believe can beat Moose, and that would even present him much of a challenge, because the rest of the division just feels like an afterthought, unfortunately, even though they have some key talents there. However, Mike Bailey was one of those talents that they were actually booking very strong, and he just did really well on TV. The fans took to him, and he's a phenomenal in-ring wrestler, especially when it comes to that X division style. He matches it perfectly. So seeing him leave is obviously a bummer. But there is talks of him potentially joining AEW in the new year. And I mean, if he left TNA for, more exposure and more money, I can't say that I blame him from a personal perspective. I just hope that AEW uses him correctly. Unfortunately, if I were to give my honest opinion about it, I don't think that AEW would probably use him correctly. They'll treat him like the shiny new toy, and then shortly after, he won't be doing that much. I hope that's not the case. I want better for Mike Bailey, so I hope that if he does go there, he's happy and they use him correctly. He did file a trademark for his wrestling name, though. It looks like for merchandising purposes, so that will be interesting to see how that turns out, and I commend him for making that move, especially for his personal business. Regardless of what Mike Bailey does, whether he returns to TNA down the line, stays on the independent scene, goes to AEW, goes to WWE, I wish him the best, and I will definitely be cheering him on wherever he goes. Moving on over, Rhino announced on social media that he has finished up with TNA at the Atlanta tapings that took place the next day after TNA Final Resolution. I appreciate Rhino, especially what he has done for TNA in TNA's earlier years. I've always enjoyed his intensity and just how he was featured in the heavyweight division in TNA's earlier years. I think he was a key part of the organization, really gaining traction, and he's a badass. There's really no other way to put it. Unfortunately, I am, I mean this with all due respect, I'm happy to see that he's wrapping up with TNA. I don't think that there's a spot on the roster or a spot on the weekly show that makes sense to have him in that I can see myself as a fan consistently being interested in or enticed by. There's really not anybody I could see him pairing up with as a tag team, and there's really nothing for him singles wise. I don't think we really need another person on the roster, unfortunately, that younger talent can get a win over either, that we don't already have that seem to be more functional or just better fits. But again, I do appreciate Rhino so much, and very thankful for what he's done for TNA and for wrestling in general. He's had a great career. Definitely wish him the best as well, and excited to see what he does, whether it be on the indies or if he pops up elsewhere. Now, definitely the most difficult departure for me to talk about is Josh Alexander. His wife, Jade, who was the ring announcer for TNA, has confirmed to already have exited TNA and wrapped up with the company at the Atlanta tapings that took place after Final Resolution. TNA did approach Jade about a new deal, but she has decided to ultimately leave the company. I'm really proud of Jade for stepping into this role. I feel like she grew as she was going, and she did a really solid job. However, I don't think there's a lack of options for people that could potentially be inserted in that role that couldn't do as good of a job or better. I know Christy Hemme is with the company. She comes to mind. Mackenzie Mitchell. We also have Sam. There's other independent ring announcers too that could potentially join the company in this role that could be great fits. Interested to see, do you guys have anybody that you prefer that you would like to see in this role? Jumping back to Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander's deal does expire in February, according to PW Insider. I'm hoping like hell TNA convinces him to sign a new deal. He has been such an incredible part of TNA since he's joined the company, but especially this year in 2024. He's had some key matchups. He's a key part of the main event scene, and he's one of those people that you can put in the ring with pretty much anybody, and you're going to get bare minimum at least a good match. But he's had some really, really great matches this year. I loved seeing him in person at Hard to Kill in January, going up against Will Ospreay. That was a great match to see live. But he's had great matches all throughout the year, and I think he could have a fantastic 2025 and beyond with TNA if he chose to stay. If he does leave, it is going to be a big hit for the roster and definitely saddening as a fan. But there's also talk that he is interested in potentially testing the waters in the free agent market rather. Interested to see if he's going to throw, his resume out there and see if WWE or AEW offer him deals. They'd be crazy not to be honest, but I really hope that he can stay in TNA somehow. But we'll see. When I've heard of talk about people being like nervous or worried about TNA in the future or the roster, maybe not TNA in the future, but the roster, Josh Alexander is one of those guys that when you lose them, yeah, it totally makes sense why fans have that reaction, because he's somebody that they care about deeply. We all enjoy seeing on our TV, and has become such, again, an important part of the roster that you can put in so many different areas and have him feud with so many different people. He's especially working with the Northern Armory currently, so I hope that they have a plan for the Northern Armory. I hope they stick around. I hope they don't end up just being placed on the back burner, or maybe not even being on the friggin' stove just because Josh Alexander isn't around. We end up losing them as well. I hope it doesn't become a snowball effect in that sense. But again, I just really hope that TNA can keep him. According to PW Insider, Kushida has been confirmed to have exited TNA. He wrapped up with the company at the Atlanta tapings. I feel Kushida could have been booked a lot better. I was so excited when they announced that he signed, and I just feel like he had some good matches, but he really could have been used, especially in the new year, as one of those people that they could have made a strong figure in the X division. But his strength really could have also been in helping some younger talents get a strong win against a reputable wrestler, and also get some talents that need some wins and need to build up their resume within TNA and with the TNA audience. I think of talents like Leon Slater, Alan Angels, both members of the Northern Armory, Casey Navarro, and Laredo Kid, that really could have used wins against somebody like Kushida, and it could have benefited them quite well. I think Kushida could have even had an X Division title run, have some wins there, have like a really strong reign, and then have somebody like, Jason Hotch or somebody like that beat him for the X Division title and make their first reign really mean something. Sad to see him go, but even more disappointed to hear that there was supposed to be more contracts like this with New Japan Pro Wrestling talent, where they were going to be able to work both New Japan and TNA. But once Scott exited the company, that whole plan diluted and did not get any stronger, and nothing else came to fruition. So that's really disappointing to hear. But wishing Kushida the best in New Japan. Phenomenal talent, going to miss him. For more international talent departures, PW Insider has confirmed that Trent Seven has exited the company, also wrapping up at the Atlanta tapings. I'm sad to see him go as well. I feel like he is a good in-ring wrestler. He had a good showing at Final Resolution against Ace Austin. However, all in all, I don't think he's a huge loss. A huge loss in the sense that I think they could have done more with him, but because they didn't do that much with him, don't see him being a good X Division wrestler for that style. He could have been like in the digital media conversation and, maybe had a reign with that championship, but I don't think he's a huge loss, even though I enjoyed him. Aiden Prince announced on Twitter that he is officially done with TNA. He had one match with TNA in 2024 and two in 2023. I don't believe any of these matches took place on the main show. I believe they were on BTI or Explosion. As a result, I cannot say that this is a huge loss. I'm not overly familiar with Aiden Prince either, so maybe I need to do my homework there. But in terms of booking and how infrequently he was used, I can't say that this is a huge loss or disappointing. The last talent that we'll be talking about when it comes to departures or potential departures is Steph De Lander. Now, Steph De Lander's deal is running out soon. out of action due to neck surgery. It sounds like TNA may be interested in bringing her back once she fully recovers from her surgery, and I'm not sure when she's expected to be back, or when she, obviously it's probably recovery permitting and seeing how the healing goes, but definitely wishing her all the best. I really enjoy Steph De Lander as an in-ring competitor, but also as a character. I think TNA could do a lot with her in the future, so I really do hope that we see her return at some point. I think there's like so much potential with Steph De Lander, and it's such a shame that she obviously got injured at any point, but I think one of the worst timings to get an injury with Jordynne Grace leaving the company. I think she could have been a really strong opponent for Masha. All in all, that is all of the departures or potential departures that we have to talk about thus far. If any more pop up, I will make a video about them. Let me know, how do you feel about each of these departures? How do you feel about TNA going into 2025 so far? I will say TNA has done a great job with their partnership with WWE. I think there's definitely some holes in their game when it comes to some booking decisions and strengthening some divisions, but I hope that in the start of the new year, they hit the ground running with that. They're booking bigger venues for a reason, and I feel like TNA has to have something up their sleeve that maybe we don't know about just yet, but it's also hard to get hopeful about that when we don't know anything just yet. However, I do think that, this isn't out of the realm for TNA. These things happen at the end of the year, especially with one-year deals. I think that there's a lot of talent that they could potentially sign on the indies, but then also talent that has departed WWE. I think of talent like Indy Hartwell most prominently, that I would love to see her join the Knockouts division. It sounds like Baron Corbin, in my opinion, is going to be joining TNA. And I think he's the one that the 23 video and hype video is all around, and could see him potentially debut at the live TNA show in San Antonio on January 23rd. I'm interested to see who else they bring in. I'm hoping that Mustafa Ali returns. I could go on and ramble, but who would you like to see join TNA? Maybe pick like a talent per division to help out each division. And do you think that TNA has something up their sleeve that maybe we don't know about just yet? I'm thinking maybe a new TV deal, or maybe a streaming deal. If they don't have that in the works, I hope that they have something at some point in 2025. It would really help them out. But they're booking bigger venues for a reason. I hope they sell them out as well and shut up a lot of the haters online. I'm excited to be going to Slammiversary next year. But yeah, thank you guys for all your support. If you've not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit the bell icon to be notified every single time I upload here on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it, and I will see you at the next one.